Yeah, let's give him a minute.
Chris.
We're going to take a break after the swearing. We're just going to take a break right after the swearing. So.
Stay quiet.
You tell me when you're ready to start. You ready to start? Okay. Notice of meeting. The annual Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education reorganization meeting is held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act and NJSA 10:4-6 Sunshine Law. Notices have been sent to the Progress, Caldwell, New Jersey, and a Star Ledger, Newark, New Jersey, and Tap Pinto, West Essex, at least 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Notices have also been posted on the Board of Education Business Office, Harrison School Building, 104 Gray Street, West Caldwell, New Jersey, and have been delivered to the clerk, Borough of Caldwell, and the clerk, Township of West Caldwell for posting. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I'm going to read the combined statement of results from the November elections for Board of Education members for Caldwell-West Caldwell. And the terms are for 3-year terms beginning January 1st of this year through December 31st, 2024. Ms. Julia Grasso votes for Caldwell, 1857. For West Caldwell, 3,184. Mr. D'Ambola for Caldwell, 1,731 votes, and for West Caldwell, 2,909. Now, at this point, I'm going to swear in our new board members. We'll do Ms. Grasso first. If you could stand, please. And, raise your right hand. If you could read those two statements, please.
I, Julianne Grosso, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state, under the authority of the people, so help me God. I, Julianne Grosso, do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of Board of Education, and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to R.S. 19:4-1, nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJS 18A:12-1, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of that office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Great. Congratulations on your new term.
Thank you so much, Randy.
Mr. D'Ambola, you could do the same. You could raise your right hand and read those two statements, please.
I, Christopher D'Ambola, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state, under the authority of the people, so help me God. I, Christopher D'Ambola, do solemnly swear or affirm that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of the Board of Education, and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to R.S. 19:4-1, nor disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in NJS 18A:12-1, and that I will faithfully, partially, and justly perform all the duties of the office according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Good. Congratulations on your new term. Okay. With that, I'd like to take a roll call, please.
Brian, before we do that, can we just take a quick break for pictures and then we'll jump into
Yes,
everything
of
else?
course.
Okay.
Of course. So I'm going to take a roll call. Mr. Cipoletti.
Yes.
Mr. Diambola.
Here.
Mr. Elko.
Here.
Ms. Getty.
Here.
Ms. Grasso.
Here.
All right, so we have 5 members present, no absences, we have a quorum. So the purpose of this meeting, in accordance with the statutes, this meeting is held for the purpose of electing one of its members as president, another as vice president, as well as to take formal action on other matters brought before the board. At this point, we're going to take nominations for the president of the board. Can I have a motion for a nomination for the board?
I make a motion to nominate Dan Cipoletti as president, board president.
Okay.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, are there other nominations? Okay.
Make a motion to close the nominations.
Okay, there being no further nominations for board president, the nominations were closed on a motion by Ms. Getty. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
Okay, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstention? Okay, motion carried. Okay, so we're going to do a roll call. We're going to do a vote now on that nomination. So we're voting on the nomination of Mr. Cipoletti for president. Mr. Cipoletti?
Yes.
Mr. Diambola?
Yes.
Mr. Elko?
Yes.
Ms. Getty?
Yes.
Ms. Grasso?
Yes.
Okay, so it's 5 yes, no, motion carried. Okay. So at this point, the board secretary relinquishes the chair to the newly elected president to call for nominations for vice president. I'm going to switch my seat at this point. Okay.
Ask for nominations for vice president.
I make a motion to, actually I nominate Julianne Grosso as vice president.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any others?
I make a motion to close the nominations.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, great. A motion has been made by Ms. Getty and seconded by Mr. Dambola for nomination for Ms. Grosso as the position of vice president.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? Okay, motion carried. And we're gonna vote on Ms. Grasso for vice president. Mr. Cipoletti?
Yes.
Mr. Diambola?
Yes.
Mr. Elko?
Yes.
Ms. Getty?
Yes.
Ms. Grasso?
Yes.
Okay, 5-0, motion carried. Congratulations.
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 Okay, now we're going to continue with the agenda. Basically, at this stage, we will be have appointments to different committees, which I will just read the committee and those who have been appointed to those positions. Then we have a few other items on the agenda, and then we will open up the floor. So appointments of committee chairpersons by the president. The president states the Board of Education meets as a committee of the whole and makes the following appointments. Curriculum and Technology, chairperson, Chris Dambola. Vice chairperson, Julianne Grosso. Administrator, Caitlin Jones. Finance Facilities, chairperson, Christopher Elko. Vice chairperson, Paula Getty. Administrator, Brian McCarthy. Policy, chairperson, Chris Elko. Vice chairperson, Chris Dambola. Administrator, Dr. Conklin. A new committee, Community Relations. Chairperson, Paula Getty. Vice chairperson, Julianne Grosso. Administrator Chris Conklin. The president will meet ex officiato on all of these committees, and the recording secretary of the Board of Education is Brian McCarthy. Appointments of school board delegates and alternatives. New Jersey School Boards Association, Delegate Chris D'Ambola, alternate Julianne Grosso. Essex County Board of Education Association, Delegate Chris Elko, alternate Dan Cipoletti. Homeschool Association League, Delegate Julianne Grosso, alternate Chris D'Ambola. James Caldwell High School Scholarship Fund, Delegate Julianne Grosso, alternate Chris D'Ambola. Legislative Chairman for the School Board's Activities, Delegate Chris Elko, alternate Paula Getty. IEQ Safety Committee, Delegate Paula Getty, alternate Chris Elko. And Shared Services Committee, Delegate Dan Cipoletti, alternate Paula Getty. Appointments of the board representatives to the personnel negotiation teams. We do not have any contracts coming up, but just in case something changes. For the Caldwell-West Caldwell Education Association, Dan Cipoletti and Paula Getty. For the Administrators Association of the Caldwell-West Caldwell Public Schools, Chris Elko and Chris D'Ambola. For Caldwell-West Caldwell Education Secretaries Association, Chris D'Ambola and Julianne Grosso. And for the Caldwell-West Caldwell Custodians and Maintenance Association, Chris Elko and Julianne Grosso. Brian, do we need a vote to approve all those?
We're gonna, no, actually, if we go, just, if there's any questions on the rest of the agenda items, we could move to the end and vote on items 8 through 23, inclusive of those nominations.
Okay, thank you. So the rest of the agenda are literally items where we have certain organizations which we've dealt with. I don't believe there's been any changes to any organization that we currently have contracts with, but those are listed in the agenda. So unless there's any questions on anything we just spoke about or went through, I'm going to ask for a motion for a vote.
So moved.
Great. Do I have a motion to approve items 8 through 23 on this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Perfect. Motion has been made by Ms. Getty and seconded by Ms. Grosso to approve all the items number 8 through 23 on this evening's agenda. Brian, can we have a vote, please?
Yes. Mr. D'Ambola?
Yes.
Mr. Elko?
Yes.
Ms. Getty?
Yes.
Ms. Grasso?
Yes.
Mr. Cipoletti?
Yes.
Okay, 5-0, motion carried.
Awesome. And now we're going to move for public comments on agenda or other items. Public participation shall be governed by the following. Participants must be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface their comments by an announcement of their name and address. Statements should be limited to 3 minutes in duration. Participants may speak no more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard, and all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. So if there are any questions or comments, if you could come up to the podium, please.
Hi, my name is Kathy Caragiullo.
Good evening,
I live
Kathy.
at 2 Ryo Court in West Caldwell, New Jersey. I'm also a fundraising chairperson for the Music and More Booster Club. And I have 2 questions, so I'll ask the first one, wait for a response, and ask the second one. And I assure you there are questions in there. So with the rise in COVID cases, both in our county, and I hear we are now, our region is now in the red zone, and the district, which reported a record-breaking 241 new cases among students and 51 among staff from over the holiday break. What numbers are you looking for in order to do remote learning, or at least give that option for remote to the parents and their families to decide?
I'll go on it. So we consult with the Department of Health, the local health officials. We consult with the school physician. There's no specific number. The outbreaks that we're managing in school had nothing to do with in-school outbreaks. They're all outside of school events. So in school, we've had very minimal close contact where it results in positive cases. So that's really what we look at most of all in terms of that. Remote instruction is only an option if you are either a close contact or quarantining. Other than that, remote instruction is not an available option provided by the road forward. So that's why we don't have remote instruction at parents' choice.
Okay, and even though the state is at, or our county is at in the red zone, that has no barriers?
The direction that we have from the Department of Health, the New Jersey Department of Education, the state of New Jersey, is that remote instruction is only limited to students who are either quarantining because they are positive or students that are considered close contact.
Okay, thank you. And question number 2, when a student of a sports team or club is positive with symptoms, the whole club or team might be asked to quarantine. This usually affects students in one particular school. Please explain what contact tracing, if any, is in place between each school. And I'll give you an example. A family can have children in 3 different schools in the district, like elementary, middle, and high school. If one of them has COVID, say at the high school student, does the district have anything in place to bar the other siblings, if they're unvaccinated, from their respective schools due to direct contact with a positive individual? This question also extends to the high school's production of Matilda, where children from potentially all 4 elementary schools are coming to the high school and will be interacting with high school students. If one of the drama students has to quarantine due to COVID, what measures do you have in place to assure that all drama students are contacted from the other 3 schools, besides that individual school's normal contact tracing, which usually involves their classroom or lunch tables?
So the school has very specific guidelines that we follow in terms of that communication. The main thing that we do is contact the local health department because that's more about community spread than it is school spread. So when we have a contact tracing going on in a school, we do have a list of their siblings and let the family know that if the student has been considered a close contact, they need to quarantine for 10 days as well, and we contact the local health department to do any other contact tracing outside the school.
So that involves, with that example with the family, what about with regarding to drama? The drama in the high school is now interacting with children in the 4 elementary schools. So I wanted you to explain your contact tracing regarding inter-schools, between the schools.
So again, if it's happening at the high school, there's a positive, so I'll give an example. So there's a 16-year-old student that's positive at the high school. We have 3 third graders or 4th graders or 5th graders in Matilda that were considered a close contact by the contact tracer in that building. Their families would be notified that they were considered a close contact and they would have to quarantine based on that school. They're not positive, but they're a close contact. So if there was a 5th grader that comes in that's positive and contacts the other students in the high school, the close contact person in charge of doing close contact at that school would do the close contact and then inform the school that there was a positive.
Right, but if you had the opposite case, if you were in an elementary student and you were barred from going into school because you have a positive, you weren't in contact trace, but you were positive, all right, what's to prevent that student from going into drama at the high school?
They wouldn't be allowed in the school.
Would the high school
Because
know have
we
that
have
name?
a record of all 2,568 students in the
Okay.
district right now that we know who's positive in the school and if they're allowed in school.
So
Through
that
our-
teacher knows.
So everyone in the school, based on reviewing Genesis, would know that that student, based on their absence reporting, is either a close contact or a positive. So it's how the absence is reported. So they would know that at the high school that that student isn't permitted to come into the school. And I would hope that the parents of the child
I would
didn't
hope
send
so
the student
too. I would hope so too. Thank you very
when
much.
they're told. So, but there is a whole process for that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Good evening. I'm near Samuel. I live at 9 Van Ness Place in West Caldwell. I have a quick question regarding a call I received last week on Friday. So periodically, or I should say every week, I get a call from our county executive, Joe DiVincenzo, and he tells me he has an automated message about sort of our progress with this pandemic. I picked up on something on a call that he made on this past Friday, where he mentioned that that the number of children ages 5 to 11 being vaccinated in our area is very low, or at least in our county is very low. And as such, certain teams were being sent into schools to help kind of further education around vaccination. I was wondering if you could tell me what, if any, information we have on that, who has access to that, and if anybody is talking to our children about that. I'm assuming nothing will be done, obviously, with without parental consent. I just was wondering if you could shed some light as to what that is, because I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, they haven't contacted us yet about coming in. We have had conversations with the county and state officials, health officials, about informing that, but again, we did that for 6th grade through 12th grade. Any presentation we would show at a board meeting, any information would be presented to parents beforehand, and they would always have the opportunity, if they chose not to have the children participate, we find alternative activities for them to do if we were doing that. There's no plans in doing that. We haven't heard from anybody, so at this point, it's not something we're addressing.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to new board members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions or comments?
Mr. Cipolleti, if you don't mind, I would like to take the time to read a statement that I have.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Board President, and Happy New Year to the board and the Caldwell-West Caldwell community. In the first Board of Education meeting of the new year, I would like to take a few minutes to acknowledge the shared experience that the pandemic has created for all of us, and the impact it continues to have on our daily lives, the district, and the nation and the world. Whether we are teachers, staff members, board members, administrators, parents, community members, or students, we are not unique in the stress and the anxiety that this pandemic has brought into our lives for such an unexpectedly sustained period of time. Many of us are drained by the uncertainty and sometimes anxious or afraid with the challenges the uncertainty brings. We all have been impacted by this pandemic. Personally, my daughters have been quarantining over the past several days as the impact of COVID has touched my family directly, and anecdotally, they use that as an excuse not to help shovel my driveway. I, along with you, also feel the frustration with the changing guidance from the state and the CDC. As of today, you had a new notice from me that the quarantine timeframe has changed. The district continues to attempt to establish as much normalcy as possible in children's lives, and we sympathize and appreciate your day-to-day struggles. We all share in this burden together and continue to work to ensure students learn and grow in this uncertain environment. The board, the administrators, and the community members appreciate the staff's efforts in helping to address all students' needs. While we know everyone across the country is experiencing it just as we are, it can feel overwhelming in so many ways. We need to acknowledge that and remember that we are in this together, and our focus always, but especially now, must continue to be our children. In our recent Board of Education meeting, related concerns have been shared, so I'd like to briefly respond and clarify some questions or comments made about social emotional supports, curriculum rollout, and staffing. In relation to social emotional supports, our children's well-being continues to be our top priority. As shared in our December 6th presentation by the Student Assistance Counselor, our school counselors and staff are providing targeted social emotional supports to our children across all grade levels. In addition, the district is piloting Playworks, a program designed to enhance how recess, which continues to be offered in all elementary schools, can be structured to support our children socially and emotionally. Administrators have observed how joyful and engaged our children have been in returning to in-person instruction this year, and we feel proud of our team's ability to create such a nurturing, positive classroom environment. That all said, as always, any parent who has concerns about their children's well-being should contact the school counselor who can provide support. Our counselors are an amazing resource. Our principals are also an amazing resource. And to support staff's social and emotional experiences, each school has launched a building-based culture and climate committee. These teams will collaborate to problem solve and will inform the 6th annual roundtable discussions between teachers and the administrative team. We need to remember that we were all in this together. In relation to the curriculum implementation, at the last meeting, an elementary colleague expressed that there are too many new teaching and learning initiatives presented this year. While we understand and heard and acknowledge the reported stress, it is important to clarify that there have only been 2 newly adopted programs this year, Guided Reading and Phonics First. These evidence-based programs are used to support children in reading, in an area our June data showed was lagging. As part of a targeted goal established by the Strategic Planning Committee, this past summer, teachers were provided with training and receive ongoing support with the implementation of these 2 programs. Our students are thriving in guided reading, and many teachers have also expressed just how much they enjoy using guided reading and that they are seeing a positive impact on student learning already, just as we did this summer when we piloted guided reading in our Smart Summer Academy. Using evidence-based teaching strategies is central in helping close the gap created over the past year, and we will continue to support any teacher who requests additional help or training. At the last meeting, a colleague questioned the safety of guided reading. To clarify, small group instruction does not require close contact, and teachers have been advised to keep students 3 to 6 feet apart and to avoid meeting for more than 15 minutes if appropriate social distancing cannot be accommodated. Again, to be clear, Guided Reading and Phonics First are the only new programs adopted. All other programs or curricula were approved by the board and adopted in the past several years as part of the state's 5-year curriculum revision cycle. While we again acknowledge the stress we all may be feeling, teaching the state standards is not negotiable, and utilizing evidence-based programs and materials aligned with the state standards is fundamental in good instructional practices. Our children are depending on us to help them become proficient and confident readers. Finally, in relation to staffing, at the last meeting, the board approved the creation of a secondary math supervisor to support teachers from grades 6 through 12. The position is being established to realign the curriculum to state standards, realign the assessments to state standards, support teachers, help enhance instructional practices, and strengthen the learning experience for our students. During public comment, it was expressed that this position would be a misuse of money that could instead be used for materials, aids, and substitutes, and that there is no evidence that the high school math department is failing. To clarify, no one said the math program is failing and that the teachers are failing. As far as the data informing the staffing decision, as presented in the staff meetings and the Public Board of Education meetings, even before the onset of the pandemic, the NJSLA data showed clearly that multiple Caldwell-West Caldwell secondary math classrooms were underperforming the state average, with only 50% of the tested Caldwell-West Caldwell students proficient in math. The principals continue to include in their school budgets any materials or positions needed to support the department or staff at the building level. The funding used for the position is from the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, or the ESSER grant. It is not taken from local funds. The ESSER grant funds are intended to supplement, not supplant, what the existing staff or programs provide. We are the Caldwell-West Caldwell Public Schools. We can do better than the state average. We can and we will do better. We are committed to providing professional development and supervision to support the growth for our teachers and support our staff. We are committed to ensuring all students have the positive and productive instructional experiences that we are helping students by setting specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely goals, planning instruction and assessment aligned with the state standards, and continually reflecting on student progress. We know this is a challenging time, and we thank everyone for helping to always keep the focus on our children. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cipoletti. Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Dr. Conklin. And I want to reiterate something. We are Caldwell-West Caldwell, and we can do better, and we will do better. And we, as a board, me personally, support the administration and what the changes that are being implemented to ensure that we are providing the best and the safest education for our children. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, with that, I'm going to suggest that we move into executive session. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss HIB incidents, personnel, negotiations, legal, miscellaneous, and old business matters. This meeting has been advertised and is compliant with the Open Public Meeting Act and NJSA 10:4-6, which is also known as the Sunshine Law. The matters discussed will be made public when confidentiality is no longer required, and formal action pursuant to said discussion shall take place only at a meeting to which the public has been invited. May I have a motion to enter public session?
I'll make the motion.
I have a second.
I second it.
Motion has been made by Ms. Grosso and seconded by Mr. Dembola. Upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Caldwell-West Caldwell Board of Education shall enter executive session at approximately 6:33 p.m. Brian, you take a vote?
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Great. Happy New Year, everybody, and thank you for coming.